I'm getting round now to doing a job that I've not been looking forward to, which is removing the pedal box. I did remove the seat here, which is kind of bolted in by 4 bolts, 1, 2, and then 2 on the other side like that, quite easy to remove. And I did have a crawl underneath there to have a look what's going on, and it does appear that the rod there is bent. So if I crawl under there again, I can just show you the mechanism of how it works. Now you're very limited by access here, but if I sort of try and press the clutch pedal, you can see that the connection there, the one that's moving now, it's not going straight in there. So this lever here has got to be bent sort of towards the left, and also up a little bit to make that straight. Now I could quickly have a go and see if I can do it in situ, otherwise the whole damn shooting match has got to come out. But anyway, let me try that. Yeah, I tried to bang it into place with a hammer and like a punch thing, but it doesn't seem to be moving much, so yeah, I guess I'm going to have to proceed to take the whole pedal box out. But anyway, what I'm going to start with first is remove these 2 bolts here and here to give this trim a bit more movement. Well, that achieved absolutely nothing because it's still fastened on there, and I can't lever that off, but never mind. I'm going to take off this steering column cover here, which is held up by 4 screws. So 1 in there, 1 in there, 1 in there, and 1 in there. I don't think those 2 are screwed on, but yeah, so 2 at the front and 2 at the back. I don't know how well this is filming, it looks just complete rubbish, but I'm going to remove these electrical connectors now. Let's have a look. So I'll just have a good look at how they're put in. And I may as well remove this out of the way. What looks like 2 green cables here, which must be the brake light switch, you would have thought. I'll remove those. Also out of the way. Now the thing that I'm going to tackle next, I don't know if you can see it, but there's 2 bolts there that attach to the brake booster. They're about, I think 15mm, and also at the top, let me see if I can see them, there should be 2 more that actually attach the pedal box to the, yeah, I bet I can see them through here actually. I don't know if you can see them. There are actually 2 bolts up there that attach the pedal box to the top of the bulkhead. So I'm going to attempt to loosen up all those, even though they are extremely awkward to get to. So that's one of the bolts that holds the brake booster on. The other one's still got to come out, and it's a nightmare. So getting the nuts off of the brake booster inside the car is a nightmare of a job. It helps if you've got a 1/4 inch drives and extensions. I've only got a 1/2 inch here with a 17mm socket, but I haven't got enough extensions. with the 1/2 inch, so I had to use, sorry, I think that's 3/8 of an inch. Yeah, so with the 1/2 inch, I had enough sockets and enough flexible joints, and hopefully now we should be able to pull the booster off. Looks like it's coming off. What I'll do is I'll remove the pipes, the vacuum pipe there, and see if I can pull it off. So the next 2 bolts to come out, they're the ones holding the pedal box actually to the firewall. So I think the 2 10mm bolts are there. I don't know, again, I've got no idea what you can see on the camera here. But yeah, I'll proceed. I think I have to counter hold them from the top as well. Nearly there. Two 13mm nuts and bolts, holding that to the firewall. There's another one there which I'm going to counter hold with a spanner and do it from the inside. So I'm just counter holding the bolt there with the spanner, so it'll rotate in that way and just push against the I should be able to undo it from the inside of the car. So I'm going to remove the brake master cylinder, which is 2 bolts here, 1 and 2. So I've displaced the master cylinder. I didn't have to undo any of the brake lines, which I'm pretty pleased about. The booster itself will come out now, but first I'll have to release the clevis pin inside the car. So I'll have to release the clevis pin for the clutch, which is connected in there, and the brake, which is connected in there. However, I think the first thing I'll do is I'll remove the instrument binnacle, and then I'll get under there and remove those clevis pins. So the walnut fascia is just held in by 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the instrument binnacle is also very similar. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it'll actually pull out. So I'll pull it like that and I'll try and disconnect some of the things. I think I'm going to start with a speedo cable, which is there, and then I'll do some of the electrical cables. Yeah, the speedo cable's coming out quite easily actually. I can turn it by hand, it's a 2-handed job. It just unscrews. I heard sometimes it gets seized this, so you might have to get some mold grips or something on there. But in my case, it's unscrewing quite easily. Once the speedo cable's detached, it actually relieves the pressure a little bit and gives you a bit more access to tackle these electrical connections. So tackle this one, pull off. Let me do this with 2 hands. I'll remove those electrical connections, as I say. Unfortunately, to get the steering instruments, sorry, the instruments out of there, I'm going to have to remove the steering wheel now. So the horn bit here should just pull out. That electrical connection will come out, and then I will remove that bolt there. I can see it's already marked, so I'll take a photo of that and put it in properly afterwards. I'll remove that nut now. Yeah, that proved to be a little bit awkward, so I had to use a puller to get it off, but it is coming off now. It will pull straight off now, I hope. And then the instrument binnacle, once you don't need to obviously release these individual things here. The only connector you have to release are these two here, so that's the speedometer cable there, and this electrical cable, which you sort of squeeze it at the sides and it will pull out. So the instrument binnacle is out. Then I think I'm going to focus on the steering column and the clevis pins. So the next job I'm going to concentrate on is removing the bottom of the steering column. So there's one pinch bolt here. There should have been a bolt in there, but it's not. There's one there. I'll have to check under the carpets here. Yeah, there's two around the other side too, but let me remove those bolts. That's the steering column pinch bolt. And that's the bolt that fastens the steering column to the bulkhead. There are actually two bolts that attach to the bottom of the steering column there. There's one that's sort of hidden. It's quite awkward to get out, in fairness, but I managed to get it out with this flexi end on the wrench and quarter inch obviously. Then I managed to loosen it and get it out with that, but it's a little bit awkward. So the rest of the steering column seems to be held in by two large bolts here. One there and one on the other side. So I'll undo those and see if I can actually remove the steering column, because that will give me a lot more space then to start removing the clevis pins. So those two big bolts there, they look about 16mm. Just a note on the right hand side there is an earth connection which I must take care of when I come to put that back together. On the left hand one there isn't any earth connection, but yeah, so just to note that. So as I'm looking at it now, the right hand side, I think I said it was the left hand side before, but that's obviously from the angle that I'm looking at it. This is the bolt that attaches the steering column actually to the pedal box, and just notice here that 4 great big washers dropped out on that side. Yeah, so it's sort of, they sit on top of that there next to the fuse box. So these great big 4 spacer washers and that bolt came out, but the steering column is moving now. Now that I've loosened those 2 bolts, it gives me a bit more space to remove the cover for the instrument panel, which was a little bit awkward before. And I was worried about damaging it, that's why I didn't take it off before. But yeah, that makes things easier. You can see on this side there's also 4, actually I think 4 great big spacer washers connected to that bolt. Just sat on top of that bolt, the same as the other side on there as well. So the steering column has dropped. I have to clean the lens on this camera. Let me just do that now. Yeah, the steering column has now dropped, and hopefully it'll pull out, but let me just wrestle it and see if it'll come out, or if there's anything else. Actually, there looks to be 1 or 2 other things, for example, that's holding it in place, but let me examine that in the meantime. No, that's not being held in place, so I'll try and pull it out anyway, and let's see how I get on. This electrical connector definitely has to come off, so I'll try and pull that one off. Yeah, I'm seeing it won't pull off yet because there's another pinch bolt at the end of the steering column there, which was hidden from view, but right at the end there, almost on the bulkhead, there's another pinch bolt at the top there, so I'll try and remove that. It is slightly awkward to get at that bolt, but if you push the steering column over to the right, you can get better access to it, and I managed to get a ratchet ring spanner on there to remove it. So it's finally wrestled out, the steering column. Yeah, it's not an easy job. It's I undid the pinch bolt there. I tried to undo that, but I wasn't getting any movement of that one. So both of those are in the, you undo them from the engine compartment. I had to remove the air filter cover and basically the pinch bolt there, which attaches the steering column to the steering rack, and the other pinch bolt could have been there, which I undid. It's slightly out of view, but it is accessible. So when those two, when it finally worked loose of the spline, you could pull the steering rack out, but it's not easy. I had to even replace the steering wheel just to sort of wiggle it out a bit, but eventually it did come out. I was starting to get a bit frustrated, but yeah, it's there. And once the steering column's out of the way, it does improve your access then. So now I can remove the clevis from inside there of, whoops, that drops. So now the brake pedal is off. That will come straight out. That's no worries. Brake booster. So now I've got to concentrate on the clutch. I don't think I can get my hand in there. No, I have to do it from the outside, but that's fine. So that's the clevis pin and retainer that secures the brake pedal to the booster right there, the rod that goes through the booster to the master cylinder. And once the steering column's out, access is much easier. Get your hands to it and get it off a lot easier. For the clutch, it's a bit more difficult to get out, but actually I'm seeing that it's just fixed on a rod here, so you don't actually have to take that out. It should just go straight back in the hole if it's lined up correctly. So you don't need to take this one out. Makes life a little bit easier. The brake pedal and the clutch pedal are now detached from the pedal box, and there's still the throttle cable left to do, but it's quite high in the pedal box and a little bit awkward to get to. So the plan is, I think, I'm going to detach the throttle cable from the carburetor and drop the pedal box a little bit, and then maybe I'll get better access to it before I actually have to detach it. But in the meantime, what I'll do is, before I concentrate, well, actually I'll do that first. Yeah. So it's the throttle cable. It's from the carburetor. It's not a big job. You have to remove it from the cam cover, pull it out eventually, and then down here it's yeah, push the cable through. And unclip the bayonet end. Oh, perhaps a two-hand job as well, of course, isn't it? But yeah, let me just do it with two hands. Yeah, the cable sort of slots through there like that, and then slots into position like that. So to loosen it, you push the end through. Just take it. Hey mate, have you been far up? Yeah. Yeah, so with the throttle cable released from the carburetor, I'm going to concentrate now on, so I'm going to remove this bolt here, which connects to the fuse panel, which needs to be displaced as well, and that also seems to secure the top of the pedal box, this bolt here, to something, a frame I think, or something there anyway. I don't know quite what it's connected to, but that needs to come out. And then I'll see if the pedal box will actually drop a little bit. Bolts do need to have the nut counter held at the other side, but I am starting to see light at the end of the tunnel here. The pedal box itself is now moving, so let me get that one off. Both, as I say, I haven't bothered with the fuse panel yet, because it also needs to be counter held, and it's a bit difficult to get inside there, so to counter hold the nut. but anyway, I'll drop it, the pedal box, and see if I've got better access to it. Close here, but we're not quite there yet. The pedal box is moving a lot. I'm going to completely remove this brake booster, which is certainly in the way. I'll just undo that. The brake booster did pull out. I'll probably take that into the garage and give it a bit of a clean up. Spray it a bit maybe. Seen better days. Now it has dropped considerably. You've seen it's been held in. There's a load of earth wires connected down there. Let's see if I can put the light. Yeah, there's earth wires connected to the side of the pedal box, which have to come out. It's sort of there. There's one nut here. It feels like about. It's going to be a deep socket for sure. And yeah, 10-12 millimeters, something like that. Yeah, what else? Now I've got better access to this fuse panel at the side. I can perhaps counterhold that bolt and remove it. So yeah, let me get along with removing the earth and that. Just to point out that goes in there. So it's one 13mm deep socket nut, and I'm counting 3 ring earth connections on the end of the pedal box there. So when that goes back together, I'll have to remember that. Top bolts there for the fuses came off, but this is just one plate here, and underneath there's still one bolt that needs to be undone from the outside to remove the fuses and relays from the pedal box. So it's a bit blind, but I think it's a 10mm. I think that maybe I'll get a ring spanner on there, but we'll see. Anyway, it's at the side there. I don't know if it's possible to see it, but it's behind the thread there that attached those earth connections, so it's just behind there. That seems left to do is release the throttle cable, which I can just about access through this through the engine through the bulkhead. And it says on the split diagram there that it's a retaining clip with another clevis joint there, but it looks a bit different to the other ones. So I'll see if I can get a flat blade screwdriver on there and lever it off. Don't ask me how the throttle cable was released, but it was. So yeah, I think it's intact, but in theory now the pedal box should be able to be manoeuvred out of there, so that's what I'll try. There's still 3 or 4 wires sort of clipped in there. Let's see. Yeah, there is. Now, is there anything else to come out? I don't think so. So after a bit of manoeuvring and yeah, sort of getting it past the wires and all that, it did come out. It came out quite easily in the end, but yeah, it's a bit of a job, that. What can you say? Not a very pleasant job at all to do, but yeah, if you take your time with it, do things in the correct order. Obviously, I mean, I've been at this now pretty much the best part of a weekend, so I started on this job yesterday morning, worked till about what, 3-4 o'clock, something like that. But, and today, yeah, I've been at it most of today. But if I'd have known what I was doing, obviously, you know, when I put this video together, hopefully I can give other people tips and advice on how to do it correctly and in which order. I mean, for a start, take the instrument panel out. It's not a big job to do that. On an XL, it's actually quite an easy job. There's 8 screws and 2 electrical settings. What else? Yeah, the steering column's got a bit out. got to come out. That was a bit of a balls ache. My mate Mark's just turned up. That was a bit of a balls ache. Yeah, the splines that connect the steering column to the steering rack, they were a bit rotten. Well, sorry, a bit rusted in, corroded in. It took me a long time to work them loose for a good half an hour or so, tugging and heaving away. But yeah, so hopefully, if it helps one other person to do this job, then good luck. God bless. Please subscribe to the channel.